Good day, world! Jim Serrill and Tanya Klein here from Coverage Inc., the leader in screenplay analysis, development, and editing services since 2002. How you doing, Tanya?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. What are we discussing today?
Well, today we're discussing something that, we kind of mention it every time we talk about writing, but we figured we're going to do a standalone video on it, and that is show, don't tell.
Oh, one of my favorite Rush songs. That is great. Show me, don't tell. Okay. Anyway, show, don't tell. So, what does that mean, Tanya? I have no idea. I don't know anything.
What it means is that don't tell us, for example, oh, this is Mary, and Mary has 3 kids, is a neurotic mess, and her husband cheats on her. Show us Mary instead, neurotically getting her kids ready for school and, putting mace in their backpack just so they're safe while, looking at the photos that the private detective has sent her that her husband is cheating on her because there he is with his mistress. Show, don't tell.
Okay, I'm so glad you brought this up because, oh my Lord, do we see a lot of this in the screenplays that come in. And it buffaloes me. Honestly, it buffaloes me just how little it seems that many aspiring movie and TV writers actually think about their own writing and even try to think visually, because this is about visual storytelling, right?
Yep.
So, and yet everything seems to be like they think like playwrights. Like, I have to say this, I have to say everything, or people won't get it. That's always everybody's go-to, right? Is to say it.
Yes, absolutely. And even worse, what happens even more often is here is our action description. And in our action description, they tell us everything about the character. It's like, wow, we know this how?
Right.
Is this person, does this person have a little sticker on their sweater saying, I am so-and-so's best friend, and, I do have my issues.
So I read a script just the other day, and it made all of those mistakes. And it was, telling us all about the personality of each character as they're introduced in the scene description. But then you read the scene and there's no indication of any of those things. So I think we need to clarify, like, if we're just talking about show, don't tell in that sense, I think it's okay to put a little bit of that in your character description as long as we see those traits in action, right? But if you do it in lieu of seeing those traits in action, we call that a show, don't tell violation, okay? That means that this is something that should have been conveyed or could have been conveyed just as well, if not better, visually, okay? So why is it better to show rather than to tell?
Guys, it's simple. You have a movie or a TV show. So what are movies and TV shows? They're visual mediums, first of all.
Yeah.
People look at a character's behavior. They don't read action descriptions, for starters. And You know what? Dialogue flies by, so they might not even hear it or realize what it means. And also, dialogue is inherently not the most dramatic way in showing somebody's behavior or personality or goals or motivations or manipulations. So
Sure.
You have a visual medium and you want us to see, to experience what the character is like, what the situation is like, what's at stake.
Yeah, I think that when we're writing a first draft, all of us do this. I do this for sure. I think all of us tend to, just kind of do the vomit version to get it on the page of what we're trying to say. And we don't really think about like the best way necessarily to do it. And a lot of times we will just put that stuff in dialogue because we need to make sure these are the thoughts we're trying to convey in this scene, right? That's perfectly fine. But again, when you're writing for a visual medium, you have to convey things visually as much as possible. What happens when you say things overtly is you wind up with on the nose writing, and you wind up with not making the best use of the visual medium. We look at shows like, Better Call Saul. It's a great example. Tons of visual storytelling. So, I mean, great dialogue as well. But so much is told to us just through the imagery. We have absolutely a clear picture of what Saul's psyche, what's going on in his brain at any given time, just from his environment, from his body language, from his behavior, how he says things in a certain way, or, the amount of enthusiasm he says it, which belies much more going on under the surface. There's so much more going on there on a visual level that then can be conveyed, through dialogue. That's just one example, but
Exactly. So let's talk about how to fix that, or how to actually make sure you do not have that problem. Do a show don't tell pass. And how do you do that? Read the script. First of all, is there any information in the action description that is not visualized on the
right.
screen?
Number one.
Number two, the dialogue. Is there anything that somebody says that should be shown instead? Like, I'm really angry today. Maybe we should show that instead. Or even about plot points. Well, this is a plot point, so this happened and then this happened. Well, maybe that should be a scene.
I read a script a couple of weeks ago where a character was talking about their being bereft over the loss of a family member. And it wasn't a bad scene. It was a scene between two people where, the dad had lost his child and was talking with a friend. He was trying to get over, this thing. And the friend was being empathetic. It wasn't a bad scene at all. And I kept thinking to myself, you know, there's so much of this that could simply be done visually and, unspoken. And we would get it just as well, if not better, via using photographs, where we see what the person who is no longer in the picture, and then just let the actor act to show how he or she feels about that, right? And then the friend, who obviously knows what's going on because he's the dad's best friend, right? He knows everything. So what really needs to be said in that scene, right? Maybe the friend just comes in and they stare at each other. Nobody says anything for a second, and then friend maybe just reaches out and touches the dad and says, "How you doing?" And then the dad just nods, looks down, changes the subject. That's it. Once with the visual cues, we get it. We don't need the whole page of dialogue about how I'm feeling working through the process, right? And again, it wasn't a bad scene. It's just once you start thinking visually, once you start revisiting the scenes you've written from the point of view of, okay, now I've written this scene, what can I do to make this more visual? It really helps the writing come to life, especially, again, since you're writing for film and TV, both of which are visual mediums, unlike theater, right, Tanya? I mean, you
That's
ran
it.
a theater
Yeah,
company for 10 years in New
yeah,
York City. Totally different experience, right?
yeah, of course. It's also a totally different medium. Plays rely heavily on dialogue.
Yeah.
Movies
Yes.
don't or should not.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't know, maybe this is a separate discussion, but, since I don't come from that world, it'd be interesting to see, like, if you're putting together a play, for example, and you've got a big chunk of dialogue, obviously actors on stage can emote and project and get their feelings across without using dialogue. That's the point of acting. So, how do you finesse that, right?
Well, again, two totally different mediums and a totally different audience experience as well. Uh, Visuals are key to film and TV. Theater is a shared experience. between the audience and the actors. They're going through whatever, the play asks them to go through right at this moment, and the audience, because the agreement between the audience and the actors is, yeah, we all behave as if this is real. This is happening in front of us right now. But again, you do not have a camera that's right up somebody's face, or you don't have a tight two-shot. And if there's a small gesture on stage, the back row is not going to see that, whereas the camera totally picks that up. So you have so that is why plays, yes, they do rely on dialogue. So to wrap it up, do a show, don't tell pass before you send out your script. I mean, I'm sure you will find a lot of things that you hadn't actually thought of before. And just keeping in mind what we've just talked about, you will find a lot of new things in your characters and in your situations.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you got something out of this. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, please, because we do drop several videos every week. Tanya, where can people reach out to us if they have any questions?
info@coverageinc.com.
Advice is always free.